Patrick Space for Space families ask me this all the time. Can you combine a VA loan with Florida Hometown Heroes assistance to buy a home in Brevard County? Yes, the two programs can work together when Hometown Heroes is funded and the buyer, loan, and property meet the current rules. But as of June 6, 2026, there is a major catch. The previous Hometown Heroes allocation has already been fully committed. So if you're PCSing to Patrick Space Force Base, leaving the military, or using your VA benefit to move to Florida Space Coast, do not build your home search around assistance money until an approved lender confirms that funds are open and can be reserved for you. In this video, I'm going to explain how the combination works, what costs it may help cover, what can still require cash, and which Brevard County alternatives you should ask about while Hometown Heroes funding is unavailable. I'm Carrie Liotta, a local realtor here on Florida Space Coast, and I help military families, veterans, and relocating buyers compare neighborhoods, financing questions, insurance exposure, and the true monthly costs before they write an offer. Before we get into the financial details, I also have a private Facebook group called Moving to Brevard County, Florida. It's a place for people researching a move to Brevard County to ask questions, compare neighborhoods, learn the locals, and understand the Space Coast life. Just scan the QR code on the screen now to join. Let's start with what each program actually does. A VA-backed purchase loan is the primary mortgage. For an eligible service member, veteran, or surviving spouse, a VA loan may allow a home purchase with no required down payment as long as the sale price is not higher than the appraised value and the buyer meets the VA and lender requirements. VA loans do not require private mortgage insurance. That does not mean the purchase is automatically free. You may still have to pay closing costs, prepaid expenses, deposits, inspections, an appraisal gap, moving expenses, and the normal costs of becoming a homeowner. Florida Hometown Heroes addresses a different part of the transaction. When the property is funded, an eligible borrower may receive up to 5% of the first mortgage amount, with a minimum of $10,000 and a maximum of $35,000 for approved down payment and closing costs. Because a qualified VA buyer may not need a down payment, the assistance may be especially useful for eligible closing costs and prepaid expenses. Those might include lender and title charges, prepaid homeowners insurance, property tax escrows, and other costs approved by the program and lender. So in the right transaction, a VA loan can provide the primary financing while Hometown Heroes helps reduce the cash needed to close. But there are two important limits. First, Hometown Heroes is not a grant. The assistance is structured as a 0% non-amortized 30-year deferred second mortgage. There is normally no monthly payment, but the balance generally becomes due if you sell, refinance, transfer the deed, pay off the first mortgage, or stop using the property as your primary residence. That repayment trigger matters. Imagine using the assistance to buy now, then refinancing later because interest rates improve. The refinance could trigger repayment of the Hometown Heroes balance. That does not automatically make the program a bad choice. Keeping cash available for the move, repairs, emergency reserves, or a transition between duty stations may be valuable. It simply means you need to understand the future obligation instead of thinking of the assistance as free money. The second limit is current funding. Florida Housing announced that the full $50 million allocation for the 2025-2026 cycle had been committed by February 28, 2026. As of June 6, buyers should not assume Hometown Heroes money is available. Funding can change, and a future allocation may open. But a headline, social media post, or a program page is not enough. Before relying on the assistance, ask an approved participating lender 3 direct questions. Has Florida Housing released a new allocation? Can your lender reserve those funds today? And do your income, employment of military status, first-time homebuyer status when required, credit, property, and loan meet the current program guide? The phrase "when funded" is the key to the entire conversation. Now, let's talk about the question buyers really want answered. Can VA plus Hometown Heroes produce a near zero cash to close? It can, when every part of the transaction lines up, but it should never be promised. A qualified VA buyer may have no required down payment. Available assistance may cover many eligible closing costs. Negotiated seller credits may also help with lender-approved costs, and a deposit already paid may be credited on the final settlement statement. But buyers can still need cash for several reasons. You may need earnest money or escrow deposit when you go under contract. You may pay for a general home inspection, wind mitigation inspection, 4-point inspection, termite inspection, septic inspection, pool inspection, or seawall inspection, depending on the property. You may have prepaid homeowners or flood insurance. You may need to fund property tax and insurance escrows. The home may appraise below the contract price. The inspection may reveal repairs that the seller will not cover. You may owe a VA funding fee unless you're exempt, although that fee can often be financed. And you still need money for the move, utility deposits, immediate repairs, and a homeowner's emergency fund after closing. That is why I would rather see a buyer close with reserves than celebrate a technically low cash to close number after using every dollar they have. The goal is not just to reach closing. The goal is to be financially steady after closing. So what can Brevard County buyers explore while the previous Hometown Heroes allocation is fully committed? One option is to ask about the Brevard County Purchase Assistance Program. The county's published program information says an eligible buyer may use a VA loan as their first mortgage. The program has its own rules, including first-time home buyer requirements, income and asset limits, home buyers' education, property standards, available funding, and approval timelines. It is a separate program, not a replacement that can simply be swapped at the last minute. You should also ask a participating lender about any current Brevard Housing Finance Authority options and compare those with seller credits that may be negotiated in the contract. Every option needs to be reviewed as part of one financing plan. The lender needs to confirm that the first mortgage and the assistance program work together, and the real estate contract needs enough time for all required approvals. For military families moving to the Space Coast, I recommend having 2 loan scenarios ready before serious house hunting. Scenario 1 is a standard VA purchase without assistance. Scenario 2 includes any state or local assistance that is currently funded and available to you. That way, your home search does not collapse if a funding pool closes or a specific property does not qualify. You also want the lender to calculate the full monthly payment, not just the principal and interest. Compare your housing allowance or household budget with the mortgage payment, property taxes, homeowner's insurance, flood insurance when needed, HOA or condo fees, utilities, commuting costs, and a maintenance reserve. This is especially important around Patrick Space Force Space because the homes and monthly costs can look very different across Satellite Beach, Indian Harbor Beach, Melbourne, Palm Bay, Vieira, Rockledge, Cocoa, and Merritt Island. A lower purchase price farther from the base may come with a longer commute. A beachside home may shorten the drive, but bring different insurance and flood considerations. A condo may reduce some exterior maintenance, but add monthly association fees and building-specific financial questions. Financing is only one part of choosing the right home. The location, insurance, property condition, commute, association health, and monthly payment all have to work together. Here is the practical order I would follow. First, request your VA certificate of eligibility. Second, speak with a lender who regularly closes VA loans in Florida. Third, ask the lender to verify current Hometown Heroes and local assistance funding instead of relying on general program information. Fourth, get a full monthly payment estimate that includes taxes, insurance, flood coverage when applicable, and HOA fees. Fifth, keep a backup plan that works without assistance. And sixth, preserve cash for inspections, the move, repairs, and life after closing. The bottom line is this. Yes, a VA loan can be combined with Florida Hometown Heroes when funding is open and all current requirements are met. But the 2025-2026 Hometown Heroes allocation was fully committed by February 28, 2026. Until an approved lender confirms a new allocation and an active reservation, treat the program as a possible option, not money you already have. Build the financing plan before choosing the house and make sure the plan still works if assistance is not available. If you're relocating to Brevard County, PCSing to Patrick Space Force Base, or planning to use your VA benefits on the Space Coast, I can help you compare communities and transaction questions while your lender handles the loan qualification and program approval. And remember, my private Facebook group is called Moving to Brevard County, Florida. Just scan the QR code on the screen now to join. You can ask questions, compare neighborhoods, learning from locals, and getting a better feel for your Space Coast life before you make the move. I'll see you in the next video.